up, mate. Got cake, mate. Got cheese, mate. Got bread, mate.
All right, back by popular demand, some more WNBA insight. So let's get into the one game that we have today, as well as Caitlin Clark's first 4 games. Obviously, probably the most popular WNBA player right now. And since we've seen all of her games, been keeping up with WNBA, let's go over how she's done so far. In game 1, she made her debut against the Connecticut Sun. This was a road game for her. Probably, well, it wasn't her worst game, but definitely not her best game. They ended up losing by 20 points. She had 20 points, but also she had 10 turnovers. In this game, I feel like she was being more passive and not so much herself. She did get 20 points, but she did start the game with 2 quick fouls, so she didn't really get into a groove. I thought one of the fouls probably should have been a no call. Regardless, she played pretty tight. It felt like it was a rough game for her. She had some hard fouls. They were defending her pretty tough. Something that she'll probably have to get used to. I'm expecting every WNBA team to be giving them the Fever their best effort. So she's just got to get used to that at this point. And then in her second game, she made her home debut, the Fever debuted against the Liberty. Probably, I have them as probably the best WNBA team right now. Aces are back-to-back champions, but they haven't looked so sharp. Liberty, they've been very sharp every single game. Obviously, to me, the Aces are the best until somebody knocks them off. But if I had a power rankings right now, I would definitely have the Liberty as the #1 team. And this was definitely Caitlin Clark's worst game. She only had about 6 points, and she went 1 of 7 from the 3-point line, and then they ended up losing by 40 points. She was very passive, again, not in a rhythm. Great defense, great veteran defense from the Liberty kind of threw her off, and the rest of the team, and of course, 40-point blowout, not good. But in her third game, this is when the tide kind of starts to turn for not only Caitlin Clark, but the Indiana Fever. They played the Liberty again, this time in New York, and they only lost by 11 points. The offense was much better for the Fever. The coach kind of made some changes to the rotations, which I think helped, trying to keep the players a lot fresher and go with a more up and down, fast paced style of game. A lot of this and most of it's due to basically the Fever having probably the worst defense in the WNBA. It's just almost non existent. But their offense, they figure, well, if we could outscore them, maybe we can get some wins. And they almost did. Well, they didn't almost win, but they were way more competitive against the Liberty. And Caitlin Clark had an amazing game. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, almost got her triple-double, first triple-double. But it was the way that she was playing with her teammates, a lot more aggressive, but she was also making much better passes and decisions. For me, Caitlin Clark's problem so far has been she hasn't really been it looks like she's been too passive. Like she's trying to force passes and there's just not there. The windows aren't there. It's not like in college. The game's moving much faster and it's just something she's going to get used to, which is a good segue to their next game, which right now they're 0-3, and then they play the Connecticut Sun on the road. And no, this was a home game actually. This was a Fever home game, and they had a much better game. Caitlin Clark had 17 points, but again, she was way more aggressive. The crowd was into it, and I think that's what Caitlin Clark. I think she's realized is, I'm just gonna have to be aggressive because like the passiveness, the first 2 games, of course, she was getting kind of used to the situation, her team, and that sort of thing. But she's just gonna have to take control because the Fever really don't have that player that can take control and dominate the ball. I think her last name's Mitchell. She started to come back into the lineup. I think she missed the first 2 games of the season, but she also helped, and she's coming off the bench now, and she's a great ball handler, which that helps Caitlin Clark not only get some rest, but also helps with the facilitating, the shooting, kick out passes, and that sort of thing. So that's been a huge deal for the Fever. And again, the coach has been messing with some rotations, and I think they have a backup big. I think her name is I forget. It's like Fag Bellum or something. I don't know, but she's really good, and they need to give her more playing time. but yeah, I mean, and she finally cut down on the assists. She only, or excuse me, the turnovers. She only had 5 turnovers, and the problem was the Fever were going back and forth, had the lead, lost the lead, and this was a very tight game the whole way through. What changed the game for the most part was Kaylin Clark kind of twisting her ankle on her own. Her sneaker kind of just got caught on the floor, ankle twist. Kind of a scary moment, but it looked like, it was one of those things where, all right, it's gonna hurt, but it was more like of a shock, walk it off type of deal. And thankfully, that's all it was. She went back, got the ankle tape, came back out. She was fine, finished the game, didn't play defense, and a lot of the problems that Kaylin Clark has been having, and I think it happened in this Sun game as well. And that's gonna be the kind of like the aggression towards officials, and also like if she has a turnover, which she's been having way too many turnovers, averaging maybe probably 8 a game is probably her average. She's probably averaging 8 turnovers a game, and she got a bad technical, kind of hurt the team, yelling at the ref, not great. And when she makes those turnovers, she ends up fouling, so she picks up cheap fouls. So it's one of those things that you just got to get used to. She's gonna get used to the game, get used to the flow and everything like that. But she'll be fine. Which brings us to tonight. So, in my opinion, the Fever have started off pretty poorly, but ever since the Liberty game, game number 3, they've been improving. Kaylin Clark's been improving, the team's been improving, and they should have beat the Sun. And I think tonight, I know tonight, the Fever are going to get their first win. I have a feeling they're going to get their first win. The Storm have been playing, I think, 3 games. This will be their 3rd game since Sunday, which is kind of a lot for the WNBA. And they're probably gonna have tired legs. They're a little bit of an older team. Skylar Diggins is their point guard. She's a great ball handler, great dribbler, but she has not looked good this season. Of course, she's probably a little rusty. I think she hasn't played in a while. But great dribbler, ball handler, but she's not very fast defensively. So Kaylin Clark will be able to take advantage of this matchup, I feel like, and I think the rest of the offense will for the Fever. And the Storm, they've only won 1 game, which is the game that had a crazy comeback against the Wings. They should have lost. No, was it against the Wings? No, that was. Oh, okay, forget that. I'm gonna have to cut that out. All right, and I really think this is going to be a breakout game for Caitlin Clark. I think she's going to have the most points scored. She's going to have a great passing game, and the Fever are going to win. And it's mostly due to I really don't like the Storm's defense. And again, their guard play, they're going to be a little bit slow. So if they can play fast, if the Fever can play fast, I feel like they're going to put the Storm at a disadvantage. And this is where obviously the Fever can strive, because that's where they want to play, and is a fast up tempo pace to give Caitlin Clark and their bigs running and get some open 3-pointers in the corner or for Caitlin Clark off the screens. And I think if the Fever keep playing like they have been, which is improving every single game, they'll get this win. The coach seems to be getting a feel for her team now and changing her rotations, which I think is brilliant, honestly. And it's something that they're able to do in the WNBA because of the skill level. It's either someone's like really extremely talented, and then there's like huge different levels. And when you have a lot that are kind of in the middle, you're able to open up those rotations, which is fine, because not everyone. I mean, the Aces and the Liberty have ridiculous talent, but everyone else is pretty close to even. Um, they're just veterans, right? So like the talent level between the Connecticut Sun and Fever is kind of close, but the Sun have a bunch of veterans that play great defense. So that's kind of like that makes the difference. So experience is a huge factor in the WNBA. But tonight, I feel like the young Fever get their first win. It'll be on the road, but I feel like their speed, their offense will be too much for the Storm. I'm gonna take the points, 5.5, 6 points, and also on the money line. I'm really confident about this. We'll see how they do, but like I said, the Storm may have some tired legs by playing 3 games in the last few days. So I'm pretty happy with taking the Fever and them getting their first win tonight. All right, I'm gonna try to keep up the WNBA content. Let me know what y'all think. Follow, subscribe, and we'll see y'all later.